Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Sandeman Street Podcast, a podcast about Dundee and Dundee United from fans of both clubs. Today we've got our new co-host, introducing Jack. Jack, how are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, Jack. Hopefully you last longer than Martin. That would be a good start. If we're wanting to
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, maybe more than 5 episodes would be good. Fresh back from Luxembourg, how did you get on?
It was good, mate. I didn't really know many people there. I was with my missus. We were in the pub watching it over there, and it was good. The weather was good, the atmosphere was good, and it was a good time overall. Expensive.
Did you not get a ticket? No.
No, I couldn't get a ticket. There was about 2,000 people in the queue or something.
Oh, nightmare. And what about the game then? Because I never got to see the game. So what was that? Was it a bit of a tough watch?
It was. To be honest, I think they were maybe the better team over the two legs. I thought we were bang average at best, but we got the win. The set pieces done it for us. I didn't watch most of the game. Once we scored, it was kind of just in celebration mode, party mode. But I thought a win was probably lucky for us, but we'll take it, you know.
Thing is that it's the time of the year, isn't it? Like, the time of the year is not really great. I know that. I don't know for Luxembourg, but if you're playing like Scandinavian teams and the Irish League teams and stuff, they're into their season by that point, and the Scottish teams are catching up in match fitness and stuff. I don't know about what Luxembourg, where they're at, but it's not a great time of the season for good football, is it?
No, it's not. A lot of the players are obviously new to the team, so I think that's maybe what Unas Strassen had ahead of us. Was I don't think they'd signed many boys. It was a lot of the same boys as last year. So they were obviously a bit more cohesive together and knew the system better than we did, and having like 9 new signings or whatever we had, obviously they're not all going to be up to speed. So I think at the start of the season you're obviously going to be struggling, but we went through, so that's all's well that ends well.
Yeah, I think that's all that matters at this stage. You've got Rapid Vienna in the next round. Now obviously that's going to be a step up in quality. Do you know much about them at all?
Well, I went to see them a few years ago now. Went to the stadium to watch them, and they were rubbish that game, but obviously we're not playing them then, we're playing them now. I don't know much about their game, to be honest with you, as of recently. But obviously they're a big step up compared to Strassen. I think they're less of a step up than AZ Alkmaar. I think they were probably a tougher team overall. But it's obviously going to be a challenge, and just got to hope that we can get a good result away from there and maybe keep them at bay.
You mentioned AZ there, like, obviously we didn't really know it at the time, but some of the names that have came out of that team, like you're talking like the boy Reinders, I'm sure he's at Man City now, he was there. Kerkez is at Liverpool. Obviously people knew Martin Zindi from watching Holland in the World Cup. The boy Classy was saying the same. The boy Pavlidis, there was their striker, he's moved on. He's at Benfica and scoring goals for them, scoring goals for Greece. So your proper football, like the know-alls, like geeks will know a lot about them players and how good they were at the time, but the majority of us didn't. So United got beat 7-0 at that time, and it kind of put them on a bit of a downward spiral. 7-0's never a great result, but could probably be a bit more understood now based on the players that have came out of that AZ team. And I think Martin certainly mentioned that further on in that season they kind of went on to have a good season. I think did they not end up getting to the semi-finals or something? Yeah,
they did. I think they got beat by West Ham.
Yeah, because West Ham ended up winning it. We watched that in Vegas. Is there anybody that in the Rapid Vienna squad that anybody would know any names at all?
I had a wee look at their team, I think it was yesterday, and I didn't recognise anyone. They had just sold a boy for 10 million quid to Nice, so he was obviously a big threat. And I know Celtic were interested in one of their wingers, I think, after they sold, what's his name? Kuhn, yeah.
Because they got Kuhn from Rapid Vienna, I think.
They did, yeah. I think they were trying to sign his replacement from Rapid Vienna, but I don't know what they're like. Obviously, they have probably better quality players than we do, but there's nobody right now that I know of that I know to highlight in particular.
And is this the last qualifying round, or is there a round after this?
No, there's a round after this. So if we progress through this round, we play either AIK Stockholm or FC Győr from Hungary. So, I mean, it's probably a more favourable draw than this one, because if we win this, we get seeded. So that's probably a better draw than Vienna, but we do have another round before the group stages.
Certainly, based on like just going off just the name, Rapid Vienna would be higher. I mean, AIK Stockholm, everybody, well, a lot of people will know of. I don't think I've ever heard of the Hungarian team you mentioned, but no.
No, yeah.
On you go.
I think that Hungarian team came fourth last year, so they're a decent side. I think they won the last round game, so they're obviously a decent squad. I don't see them beating AIK, but I think both of them are less of a step up than Rapid Vienna.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if you're getting to the start stage of any European tournament, you're not going to be a mug. I mean, everybody, well, certainly myself, thought that Una Strassen were going to be a team full of mugs and they give United trouble. So yeah, it's going to be tricky whoever you get, I suppose. But if you get through Rapid Vienna, then who's to say that you can't get through any of them? And as a Dundee supporter, I don't want United to ever do well, but it would be good to see that all the Scottish teams get through to the it's not a group stage anymore. It's like a league phase or something that's called now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the same in all the tournaments in Europe.
Yeah, there's quite a few teams in that, and you just get drawn against random teams, and you've just got to hope you get good draws out of that if you make it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously me and yourself, we've been writing a Football Manager through the years, and that's came into Football Manager for quite a few editions of it now, because obviously it's been in UEFA's thought process for a few years. So when it came round and actual happening in real time, me and you certainly, and people who play Football Manager, already kind of had the gist of it. But it was interesting to see last year how it actually worked in real time, and I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot better. Obviously, the way that it had been before, where it was 8 groups of 4 or whatever, had gone a wee bit stale, and it needed something done to it, and I actually quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I can't say I really watched much of it, but I do know that obviously bigger teams were getting drawn against each other, and it wasn't so much the big guy versus the little guy, it was more quite an even playing field. So I do think it has improved since the previous years, but we'll just have to see how it progresses in the future, because it's still quite a new system.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, moving on from United's European adventure at the moment, we'll move on to the opening weekend of the season in the league now. United got a 2-2 draw at Falkirk. I have to say, I was not surprised in the slightest. I called the draw for weeks and weeks beforehand. The newly promoted team never ever seems to get beat, raising the flag at home, etc. So I don't know how much of it you've seen. It was live on telly. I suppose you may be seeing bits and pieces of it, if not the highlights. We seen the first half, about half an hour to 35 minutes of it in the pub before going up to Dens. Well, what did you make of the game?
I've only seen the highlights. From what I've seen and what I've read online, I've heard it was quite an even game, and the draw was probably a fair result. I heard Falkirk were probably the better of the first 20 minutes or so before United got into the game. It's obviously disappointing to be in the league twice and lose the league twice, but Falkirk's always going to be a tough place to go to. We don't seem to have the best records against them, especially at their place. So I would have took a point at this, before the game started. I would have took that. I thought we were going to get beat, to be honest with you. I thought we would have had a European hangover. So to get a point's fine, and 2 of the new boys got goals as well, which is good.
What the new boys? It was Waters. I don't think I'd ever heard of him. I think maybe saying that, we briefly spoke about him last week. I think myself and Reese. But it was him, and was it Dolchek? Am I right in saying that?
Dolchek, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
goal scorers, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Dolchek boys. Yeah, both of them took them well. Waters, I think the ball there was a shot went in, keeper saved it, bounced out to Waters and hit it on the volley in the back of the net. And then Dolchek took on the right back, I believe, nutmegged him, and then slipped it past Bain. So there were 2 good goals, but I mean, we conceded the goal within a minute of the second, so we obviously switched off. And the defending wasn't great, I don't think. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very, very difficult place to go, Falkirk, on the opening day of the season when they're raising their flag. The Grim's full. Their fans are completely full of positivity. As I say, the newly promoted teams never seem to get beat. Even like Livingston, they were away at Kilmarnock, they didn't get beat. 2 all draws, easy for me to say, for the promoted sides. I do think that the promoted sides will struggle this season. I've seen a lot of people very positive, not just Falkirk fans positive about themselves, but just like journalists and whatnot are positive about Falkirk's season. That may well happen, I can be wrong, but I just don't think they've got the quality throughout their squad to... I mean, I've seen somebody saying that they think they might finish in the European places.
That's probably push it a bit far.
Yeah, more than a bit far in my opinion, but there we go. But
I think they'll be safe this season, to be honest with you. I think, I like McGlynn as a manager. I also like the continuity they've got within the squad. It's the same squad they've had for years. I know you were saying last week that you think that's probably a bit too far for them in terms of moving up to the Prem, but I think that gives them maybe a slight edge at the start of the season where they can pick up a few points that can maybe take them towards safety. I think there's a couple of teams that I think will perform worse than them over the season.
Yeah, and as I say, mate, I could be well wrong. I usually am when it comes to making predictions, anyway. And it could be a case of me just hoping that there's as teams equally as shite as Dundee. I think Falkirk and Livingston will be there or thereabouts. I kind of see them pushing right up and having a bit of a fight for the top six. I just think there's too many better teams than them for that to be the case. So we'll see. I mean, I've seen would it be their first goal? I think it was it the boy Tate that scored, or was that the second goal? That was the first goal.
Yeah,
it was laid back to him and he put it in with his left foot. It was a cracking finish. That's all I've seen. It was the only highlight I've seen. Whilst sitting in Dens waiting for the Dundee game to start. No, it may have been half time actually. I seen that whilst I was scrolling through Twitter at half time at the Dundee game. It was a great finish. One thing I wanted to say though was, and we spoke about this a few episodes ago, and I don't have a problem with this. I just wanted to bring it up just for something to talk about. The Falkirk away end this season. There's got to be, in my opinion, something done with the rules of the league, because Falkirk, it's their stadium, they can do what they like, they can sell as many, if they can sell the season tickets to fill their stadium, then great. But I mean, how many tickets did United get? 700 and odd. They're not even got half of that stand behind the goal that away teams used to get the full thing of. I just don't think I think big away supports are good for the atmosphere of a stadium. Now I know that it's a wee bit different because Falkirk's 8,000 or something that holds, so 700 and odd looks more in that stadium than it does at, say, Tynecastle or Rangers or Celtic, for example. But I just think that there has to be a rule brought in at some point in the future, because what I'm saying to you about Hearts and the 750 tickets that you get at Hearts is just not enough in my opinion. And I know it's contradictory to what I'm saying when I'm saying if they can sell them, then it's their home ground and whatever. But I think that the league should step in and do something about it. What do you reckon?
I don't really have a problem with it, to be honest with you, mate. I think that the home team's entitled to do what they want with regards to how many away fans there are into the stadium. If they think they can sell out the home tickets, then I don't see the problem, because they're going to gain a bigger advantage anyway, and the home advantage is obviously what teams are wanting. And I think by letting more fans into the stadium, away fans into the stadium, you're taking away from that potential advantage. So I think they're all within the right to do it.
Yeah, I know I've been totally contradicting myself in the past couple of minutes, saying one thing and disagreeing with myself in the next sentence. So I don't really know what my point of view is. I just think that I would like it to happen, but probably the best way to describe it is I would like something to be done about it, but I could understand why the situation is the situation. It's probably the best way to describe my thoughts on it. As I say, it looks better at Falkirk because Falkirk's 8,000 or whatever, whereas Tynecastle's 1920, and you're getting the same amount of tickets. What annoys me about Tynecastle is that you get 750 tickets or whatever, but they put all that tarpaulin in the corner when you could have an extra couple of hundred seats or whatever that are underneath that tarpaulin. And I didn't get it because you used to get that section of that stand. So not only are they giving you a reduced allocation, they're also reducing it even further to put some G4S sheets down on the seats.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
I think it's probably a financial thing.
I've heard loads of different reasons for the Tynecastle one. Somebody was saying it was for segregation, but because the corner of that stand's too close to the corner of the other stand. But surely if, when they're building it, they wouldn't get their safety certificates if they were too close to each other. But anyway, I don't know. But we'll move on to Dundee opening day defeat at home to Hibernian.
Yep.
I have to say, I put it on my Twitter after the game. It was one of the most uninspiring performances I've ever seen in my life. I went into the game having only seen them 2 or 3 times in the League Cup, and the general negativity that surrounds in Dundee at the moment for the appointment of Stephen Presley, I'm trying my best not to let that enter my thought process. I wanted to have an open mind, give the manager his chance. I also think another point of view that I'd like to have is that we're in a situation that's not Stephen Presley's making. I actually feel sorry for Stephen Presley. He's been thrown into a situation. Now, he's applied for the job, as he says. He didn't have to take the job, whatever, but most managers out of work would at a top flight club in Scotland. He's been put into a situation. It's an absolute disgrace the way that the people who run the football side at Dens have let it get to that situation. They've lost Tiffany, Shaughnessy, Mulligan, Cameron, Portales. There will be more. Scott Fraser. There's more. But anyway, they've let them all run out of contract in the same season. Now, it's just bad mismanagement at the highest point if you could get. When they got promoted a couple of years ago, they offered a lot of the players who won promotion new contracts because they'd let themselves get into a situation that season where they'd had nobody virtually. I think it was only Tyler French, Zach Rudden, and there was somebody else. It was three or four players who had contracts. And I think they actually wanted to let themselves get into that situation, so when they got promoted they had a blank canvas, which is fair enough, that's fair enough. But then what they then went and did was they went and offered all the players who got promoted. So you had Legsdons, Cammy Kerr, Lee Ashcroft, who else signed new deals? Mulligan, Cameron, Jordan McGee, there was more. And they give them all 2-year deals, every single one of them. So all that was going to happen was they were all going to run out of contract again at the same time. Now, boys like Legston's hung up his gloves, Cammy Kerr was sold in that time frame, Ashcroft was sold in that time frame, other players were as well, Zach Rudden. But then what's happened is that the boys who you would have wanted to have kept, just Lyle Cameron, Josh Mulligan, they've never been offered new deals. Now, if they're not going to get offered new deals, or if they are going to get offered new deals and they're not going to take them, you sell them. Sell them last year in the summer. If obviously there has to be interest, but sell them. Or drum up interest and try and get rid of them and get more money than they're going to get for a development fee this summer. And if Tony Docherty, now I was in favour of Tony Docherty staying purely for continuity, but if Tony Docherty was going to stay, he would have been in exactly the same position as what Stephen Presley's in now. But it's the reason why the negativity's been amplified so much is because they've sacked Tony Docherty or let him go. They've brought in Presley, who nobody wanted, And the negativity is ramped up even further. Now, if you had Tony Docherty in this situation, there would have still been negativity because Dundee fans love negativity, but it wouldn't have been amplified to the stage that it is now. And that's why I feel sorry for Stephen Prez. He's in a no-win situation because they're clearly not ready. He keeps saying that he needs more than like 6 more sign-ins. And it was totally evident on Saturday that they had 1 shot on goal and they scored it. And it was from a mistake from Hibs, by the way. I don't know if you've seen the highlights. The boy Iredale falls over his own feet, and the striker takes it off him and squares it for Finn Robertson to score. And it was a good goal from Dundee side of things after the boy made the mistake. But they never looked likely to create anything for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
it's just no good. It's just no good enough.
I watched the highlights, and I think there was literally one Dundee highlight, and it was the goal. So I think that probably says a lot about how it went, to be honest with you. With your point regarding the squad, I think that squad building, I think obviously being not a massive club in terms of the football game, you can't really offer 3, 4, 5 year deals, and so you're going to be stuck in the loop constantly of offering 1 or 2 year deals to players. And I think it's more of a safety aspect as well, because if you do, for instance, get relegated, you don't want to be stuck on the players having big wages, Premier League wages in the Championship. And if the players get injured, it gives you a way to get out of that deal as well. So I think it probably is a safety aspect. I think it's not being able to offer the deals you want, because I think players aren't going to want to commit to longer deals and 2 year deals at a team like Dundee or United. And with regards to Presley, you're absolutely right. He has been basically thrown under the bus. He's in a situation where he can't win. Obviously, if he picks up results, that's going to be great for his confidence, and Dundee fans are going to, I'm not going to say get behind him, but they're going to give him a chance. But so far, I don't think they've played very well, especially in the League Cup. And Hibs, I thought, I seen they were poor. So he's going to start picking up wins, or at least points, soon, because Dundee fans will get on his back very quickly, and I don't see how he lasts beyond Christmas if things stay the way they are.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about the contracts thing. The thing that I can't get my head around, right, is that they'll give Mulligan and Cameron, who were clearly assets 2 years ago, and McCowan as well, by the way. He was another one they gave a 2 year deal to. So there's 3 assets already, right? They've sold McCowan to Celtic after a year of his contract that he signed for £1 million plus whatever they got on add-ons. And Mulligan and Cameron let their contracts run down and go on to other clubs, and we'll get development fees for them. Now, it might be a case of they were only willing to sign 2 year contracts, and if that is the case, then the club can only give them what they're prepared to sign. But they then go and sign boys like Aaron Donnan on 3.5 year contracts. We'll speak about it soon, and when we'll speak about the transfers, but they signed the boy earlier today on a 3 year contract. So it's not like they're not offering boys that length of contracts. I think my biggest gripe is that this isn't just like a isolated incident with Dundee. Dundee have been murder about letting boys run their contracts down for years now. And as I said earlier, if they aren't going to sign a new contract, you get on the phone to their agent and go, get them a new club and get us some dough. Because it's better off getting them away, getting decent money for them, than what's happening now, where they've never been paid off Hibs as far as I'm aware, and they've never been paid off Rangers for Mulligan and Cameron. I would imagine that they'll likely go to tribunals like what happened with Aberdeen and Conor Barron. Now, Aberdeen actually ended up getting no bad dough for them, and they got a selling clause as well, so Aberdeen have probably benefited out of that. But Dundee, being Dundee, won a benefit out of it. They'll get peanuts. I'll give you another example. Glenn Kamara, he is the epiphany of what I'm saying right now. Honestly, he had 6 months left on his contract, and Rangers offered him a pre-contract, well within their rights to do that. There's no issue with me, right? Jim McIntyre, for whatever reason, only Jim McIntyre knows, wanted rid of him. So he went to Rangers in the January for 50 grand or something like that, which is nothing to Rangers, right? Mm-hmm. And Glenn Kamara's one of the best Dundee players I've ever seen, by the way. Great, outstanding football player. He goes for 50 grand. He'd be more value keeping him and letting him go for nothing, because they could potentially have kept him up, right? Or say to Rangers, you could have him now for nothing, but give us a sell-on clause. And they would have got more money out of that as well, because he ended up going, I think it was Leeds, for like 5 million. So you get more money either way. I just think that the running of Dundee, from John Nelms, Gordon Strachan, and all the rest of them who run the football side of things, has just been way off it for far too long. Now, he's come out in the summer, John Nelms, and said that they're wanting to change the way that they're operating. They've got this new guy in, David Longwell, who's the technical manager, who I reckon will be now Dundee's Mr. Unsackable. And they're wanting to do this new model where the continuation of a model where they want to be this development club. And he actually said it in the interview done in the summer, where he's basically all but said, we know that there's huge risk doing this model and we could get relegated. Well, that's great, because Dundee really need another season in the Championship. That's just exactly what Dundee need. They've had about fucking 40 of them in the past 50 years. So
I think with that, like, obviously he's talking about a player development strategy, and I think if you do that correctly, even if you get relegated, I don't think it's a bad thing. As I think it gives the youngsters a better chance to play. It gives them more exposure in the first team, especially if they've been relegated. If you look at Bodø Glimt in Norway, they have the same model. They've got a model where player development comes first. The first season they implemented it, they were in the championship of their nation, and then I think they got promoted, they got relegated again, gave them a chance to develop more players, they went up, and then they won the league the next season. So it obviously is a method that can work. It is obviously high risk financially, but if it pays off big, and the club could benefit big time.
I get what you're saying. The problem that I've got with it is that if you're going to run that strategy, you need good people running that strategy, and we've not got that. We've got John Nelms, who, if you were to take the piss out of his specs, he faz out with you and sacks you.
Yeah,
John Nelms
I mean, that's
absolutely loves fanning out with his managers. He's an absolute clown, eh?
He's an ego. He's got a massive ego. Doesn't like his ego getting bruised, and that's probably going to be at the detriment of the club, because he wants things to be done his way.
I mean, he even fell out. Well, we don't know, but you could see it a mile away. He's even fallen out with James McPake, and James McPake was his boy. So if that's happening, then watch it. He's fallen out with Bowyer. He's fallen out with Tony Docherty. Time will tell, but Stephen Presley's now doing what all managers do when they want players. He's coming out in the press and dropping wee bombs. If Stephen Presley's going to continue to do that, it's only a matter of time before he falls out with him. And it's just no good enough. We need continuity. We need to get ourselves into a position where managers are leaving us to better themselves. No sacking boys every 6 months or 2 years or whatever it is, and moving and starting the whole thing again. A new manager, a totally new squad. I know that I've went totally off track with Saturday or Sunday afternoon's game, but all of that, in my opinion, has led to Sunday, where we've got a team full of new signings, really, and it's just nowhere near ready, and that is not good enough. They've had all summer the new, and you know what, they've actually had longer than that, because they knew that this situation was happening. They knew that they were losing quite a few players. Boys were clearly not signing new deals, and I don't know what they've done to Mo Salah, but there is absolutely no way I'm believing that he's choosing Livingston over Dundee for any other reason than he's getting offered more time on his contract, because nobody leaves Dundee to go to Livingston, eh? I know that I'm big time when I've got no right to it as a Dundee supporter, but you're no leaving Dundee to go to Livingston for dough. I just can't accept that he's getting paid their money at Livingston. So it must be the 3-year deal. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that we should be offering Mo Salah at 31 or 32 a 3-year deal. I'm not really that fussed that Mo Salah is leaving. All I'm saying is that they knew that him, Portales, all the other boys I mentioned earlier were leaving. So this situation they find themselves in isn't a surprise, and they've still managed to let themselves get to August, the opening day of the season, and that is the performance that they turn in, because they're clearly not ready yet. Now, Dundee fans probably could have forgiven them if they turned up to the League Cup group stage undercooked and unready, and they used the League Cup or the 3 or 4 weeks that runs to get signings in the door, use them as basically free pre-season friendlies to get themselves ready for Sunday afternoon. But they didn't even do that. They signed the boy Jones at the beginning of July, and they haven't signed anybody again until today.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm sure I've read elsewhere, maybe on your forums or whatever, that, or in the news, that there's been boys you've been interested in, you've offered them deals, and they're deciding to go elsewhere. Probably because they don't believe in the project. They probably don't believe in Stephen Presley. I think that's part of the consequence of signing him. He doesn't carry that gravitas that other managers do. So people might want to go and play under a Stephen Robinson, even a Stuart Kettlewell, because they think they maybe have a better chance of developing them than Stephen Presley would. But I agree with you that you're not prepared enough. I think the players you've brought in probably aren't good enough either. Based on that Hibs game there, I didn't see anyone, like, from the highlights, I didn't see anyone that really stood out. And then you're also missing, like, Simon Murray, he's out injured, so that's not going to help your case either.
See, the thing was, even the subbies were now, they were like 10-15 minutes too late. Like, they looked. I'll tell you a couple of positive things. Right, Luke Graham, centre half, left sided centre half, young boy. He's the next boy that we're going to lose for peanuts. By the way, he's under contract, I believe, until 2027. So it could take a couple of years until we get to the stage where he is leaving for them peanuts. But he'll be the next one that does the signing we'll lose for nothing. He was fairly decent. Obviously we've seen him before. He played a few games last season, but he was good. And they looked. Now it's a bit of a caveat to this because Hibs didn't really get out of first gear in the second half, but they looked a lot more comfortable and defensively sound within the structure. Like last season, they scored loads of goals, but they couldn't keep the ball at their own net either, and hence the reason why they finished where they finished. And it was obviously exciting at times, but I'd rather win games 2-0 than win games 4-2 like they did at Tannadice. Like, I'd rather they were organised and hard to beat. Now, the first goal they conceded was a mixture of a mistake and luck. So the boy Ashley clears the ball, it hits off Ingram and lands perfectly for Bowie to put in the net. So yeah, you could forgive it. The second goal wasn't great defensively. It falls right to Bowie again. He was in the right place at the right time, which is obviously the sign of a good striker as well. Makes his own luck. They're 2-0 down. They score a decently worked goal after a mistake from Hibs, and then after that, as I say, they never looked like they were ever going to score a goal. Now, their midfield was a ghost town. Because they were playing the three centre halves with the wing backs, when the wing backs were getting on the pitch, or on the ball, there was never a midfielder wanting it. So every single time either Ingram or Samuels got on the ball, they were putting their foot on the top of the ball and turning and playing back to the centre half, and it was getting switched over to the other side. There was just no way that they were able to play through because their midfielders weren't interested. The boy Jones was trying his best in spells, but they've just got no creativity in the middle of the pitch. That is where they're desperate for players. They're desperate for somebody who's got a passing arm or who could pick up the ball and carry it. They're just desperate for that, and that was so evident. And it wasn't until they brought on Dre Wright came on, played away alright. the boy Ugan, who is the kind that he's a winger, but he was brought on to play behind the striker and kind of make things happen, but get on the ball. Didn't really see much of him because he didn't have much time to do anything. And they brung Garza on and basically stuck him up front and just asked him to run around and press, because none of them were doing it until he came on. Like, there was just no urgency about them whatsoever. It was really quite worrying. And obviously they're going to Rangers on Saturday, and they're not going to win that. They'll get pumped probably. So we were speaking about it in the pub before the match. We were saying, get through today and get through next week with just like battling losses. Like, they get beat, but you could at least they had a bit of a fight about them, and then there'll still be a wee bit of positivity. Then take that into the Kilmarnock away game where they've more even of a chance, and then you've got the derby which takes care of itself, and that is just completely lost after that game on Sunday. Just no positivity whatsoever.
I mean, the probably only positive you could take is that it was only a goal difference. I think against Rangers you're going to need to put a pretty good performance. I think it was a free hit though, so you've always got a chance, and I think the Motherwell game showed that they can be getting that, and they are vulnerable in defence, because I watched the highlights of that game, and it seemed like Motherwell were all over them in the second half. I think it is a game that you're going to struggle in. Obviously a lot of teams struggle against them, but I think it's a free hit, and if you give them a game, you're physical, you stand up to the players. I mean, I don't see why you can't maybe get a result, or even if it is a loss, a close loss.
Yeah, a narrow defeat with showing that there's a bit of fight about them, and just like they're just overwhelmed with better quality, because Rangers are obviously better than us. That would be what I would look for from Saturday evening's game. But yeah, they desperately need players, Jack. Honestly, I can't explain to you how much they need at least two midfielders. The boy Digby is clearly the boy who's been brought in to replace Mo Salah.
Yeah,
he's the breaker-upper. I mean, he did a decent job at that on Saturday, but the problem with having him there is that he's not really going to get on the ball and make things happen. So you're then relying on Finn Robertson and the boy Jones to do that, and they weren't doing it. So you're effectively just having three boys running around breaking things up, which is fine if you're defending, but no fine if you're needing a goal like what we were. And yeah, it was only a narrow 2-1 defeat, but I mean, Hibs were playing off the back of extra time on Thursday, and I mean, really, they were knocking about their back four, like, we'll just do this until the end of the game, because we know that Dundee aren't pressing us much, and we're knackered, and we're 2-1 up. So really, if Hibs were really on form, it could have been more, eh?
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on from that, we'll cover the rest of the card. We'll just read out the scores from the rest of the card. So on Saturday it was Kilmarnock 2, Livingston 2. Kilmarnock throwing away a 2-goal lead in that game. They were 2-0 up at half time. Livy bringing it back when Kilmarnock got put down to 10 men. And as you were saying there, Motherwell 1, Rangers 1 was the Saturday evening game. I think that was a bit of a game of two halves. Rangers were good in the first half. Motherwell were very good in the second half. I'd seen about the last half. I've seen all the first half and about the last half an hour of the second half, and Motherwell were very good in the second half. Sunday's games, as I said, Falkirk 2, United 2, Dundee 1, Hibs 2, and Celtic winning 1-0 against St Mirren at Parkhead. And then last night's game was Hearts 2, Aberdeen 0. I've never seen any of that, but supposedly Hearts were very good from what I've seen. I don't know. I've seen a lot of Aberdeen fans complaining about their new striker Yenge, saying that he's going to be a bit of a tough watch. Well, you could come and watch Dundee all season and that'll show you what a tough watch is.
I heard Aberdeen were pretty poor. I think Hearts will do well this season, to be fair. They've also got Jonestown behind them, so I think they'll be a good team this year. I think we'll struggle against them.
They've got Jamestown behind them, and they've got a good manager, and I think that Derek McInnes done consistently well at Aberdeen, who are obviously a similar sized club to Hearts. If Derek McInnes can get them going in a similar way that he got Aberdeen going, then they're on to a winner there straight away.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on, well, transfer news is what we're going to speak about next. Now, as far as I'm aware, United haven't had any incoming since the boy Waters signed.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've read on Twitter today, you might be away to lose the cult hero Van der Sand.
Yes,
so
I know.
The song that you guys have got is proven to be untrue, that he wasn't going to score before Nou Camp.
But does that not say that Nou Camp is ever going to get built then?
Well, we'll never know. But
yeah,
just to place on record how much of an absolute dumpling that he was.
I think he's been misunderstood. I think if we'd said he was signing him as an attacking midfielder, I think he would have been a bit more patient with him. I think he would have had more of a chance. But because we said he was a striker, he's like, we didn't say he was going to score a lot of goals or anything, but I think as a striker you expect goals. I think he preferred to play as a false nine and maybe that more central attacking midfielding position, distributing passing the ball rather than scoring, hitting the ball on target. So I think he has been misunderstood. I think he is a good player. I thought when he came on he did change games slightly, but obviously he never got the goal that we were all craving for. So I'm going to be disappointed to lose him, but I think we could probably sign better.
Well, I definitely think you could sign better.
Yeah, I think. I think he brought something different. I think most people expect a striker just to be a goal scorer, but if you look at Bobby Firmino, he wasn't the most prolific goal scorer. He was more setting up for the other players. So I think there is a position there, a role there for him. It's just that we never exploited it well enough, and we wish him all the best.
As somebody who supports Liverpool, a Liverpool fan, I'm not having you comparing York Van der Sand to Bobby Firmino, by the way.
He's just the ginger Bobby Firmino, okay?
I get where you're coming from, but let's use somebody else as a comparison, because Bobby Firmino was outstanding. But there's obviously been no incomings in the past year with United. Obviously, they've signed quite a few players throughout the summer. As we kind of touched on earlier, Dundee have signed a player today. Joe Westley signed a 3-year deal coming in from Burnley. Never made any appearances for Burnley, but he's had 3 loan spells, one with AFC Fylde, one with Rochdale, and his most recent one was with Swindon. 17 appearances for Swindon last season with 3 goals. He's a striker, so he's as prolific as other strikers that I've signed this summer. Now, he's only 20, 3-year deal, so they're obviously seeing something in him. He's from the article that I read, he's best mates with Michael Mellon, who was on loan a couple of years ago, and who other Dundee fans thought was going to be a right good player. He had a very good debut away at Livingston, and never really kicked on after that. I mean, I'm not saying that he was shite by any manner of means, but he just didn't kind of hit the heights that everybody was expecting. So the boy Wesley says he spoke to him, and Michael Mellon had recommended him to come up. So another body in the door. It's not really. That'll be our fourth striker now, along with Aqua Murray and Hay. It's not something I think we're desperately needing at the moment. I would have targeted more midfielders, but yep, we've got them. Subject to international clearance, which obviously should be fine, and we'll take it from there. But no, it's always exciting to see a new signing, so we'll just have to see what happens. But moving on from that, we're going to speak about the weekend's games upcoming now. I mean, it's 2 difficult games for both of us. We're obviously, as we said earlier, away at Rangers at the Saturday evening game live on Premier Sports. But United don't really seem to have it very much easier. Their first home game of the season in the league is at home to Hearts. What do you reckon about
that? Yes. I think we're going to lose. Obviously, they're not in Europe this year. We are. So we're going to have the midweek game to contend with. And against Rapid Vienna, we're going to be knackered. And we've got a lot of injuries and suspensions as well. So I think we've got 5 first-teamers out injured already. and Ferry suspended as well. So I don't see us getting anything from this. Honestly, I think this could be a 2-3-0 loss. As long as if we can maybe shut up shop, we might frustrate them and hit them on the break, but I'm not seeing much from this game, to be honest with you.
My positivity is rubbing right off on you, is it?
Yeah. We've lost. Strain's injured, Trapanovski's injured, Graham's injured. We're backup wing back that we had, he's injured. So we're going to be playing a formation we're not training in because we don't have another wing back for that role. Goodwin likes a 3 at the back system, and that's not going to work without wing backs. So I think we're going to have to change it to a 4 at the back and maybe condense the midfield a bit more. But we'll see what happens. I'm never confident with United, so we'll see.
I did notice from the half an hour or so that I watched on Sunday lunchtime that the boy Savelge was playing. Was it like the right side of the back five? Or
yeah, he was playing right back then.
Is he not a midfielder?
So I think he started out as a centre half or right back. But we played him in his debut was against Falkirk, and he got tore a new one by I think it was Tate. So he immediately wasn't allowed to play in that position again, and he got put in the middle of the park. I think he was developed as a right back or a centre half when we signed him, so he can play there, but I don't think that's probably his best position now.
Mm-hmm. Oh well.
Yeah.
So, what if I was to pin you down and say prediction? What score prediction? What do you reckon?
I'm going to go 3-0 Hearts.
3-0 Hearts.
Yeah, because we're going to be tired.
That, Jack. I can't see
we're going to be tired. Yeah, we're going to be tired. We're going to a lot of injuries. Some more people might get injured in the Rapid Vienna game. We're losing Jorah van der Sande, who was going to score. We're Kyle Fotheringham's going to go as well, I believe. So we're losing him. We've not really got much off the bench because of injuries. And we've not signed anyone new recently that can maybe come off the bench. So I'm not confident. We'll just have to wait and see, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. I have heard, speaking about Hearts, that Jan Danda is apparently a transfer target for both of the clubs.
Well, Scott Burns poured water over that. He was saying that we're both getting priced out the move or something because his wages are too high. So we'll see, but I don't think that's going to be a goer, to be honest with you.
Okay. So Scott Burns poured cold water over that on Twitter, I take it.
Yes.
And that was for the two clubs or just United?
I think that was just United. I didn't actually see the tweet, but I've seen people talking about it.
Right, okay.
Because I did see the rumour that we were interested in Danda, but someone had said that Scott Burns had rejected it. Had said it wasn't happening, so.
Okay. Well, I'm on the Scott Burns's Twitter at the moment, and from what I can see, from just scrolling down, one that might interest you here, it says Dundee United remain in the box seat for Lucas Stevenson if the Liverpool defender returns to Scotland. So
yeah, but
there's a bit of positivity for you if that was to happen. And also, just a side note that's not Dundee or Dundee United related, that Grant Hanley's actually signed for Hibs.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
That is very interesting.
With that Lucas Stevenson one, I don't think that's going to happen either. You're saying he's going to be the first choice if he comes to Scotland, but what's to say he's not going to go somewhere else that's not Scotland? I don't think he'd gain anything from joining us again. He's played in the Prem. He's been playing for Liverpool in their pre-season friendlies, so I don't see why he couldn't get a move to maybe a Championship club in England.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just having a look further down Scott Burns' thing. Ryan Porteous is signed for LAFC.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
That's a right strange signing, isn't it?
I know. It seems like a lot of Scottish boys are going abroad now. Despite probably not being the most technically adept players, we seem to be able to. A lot more Scottish boys are moving abroad, who might have originally came back to the league likes of Porteous, he could have, in the past, he could have very well ended up back in Scotland, but it seems like a lot of the boys that are going down south now are opting to move abroad rather than come back up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good that the Scottish players are getting out and seeing like the different leagues and whatnot, because it's certainly not done players like Lewis Ferguson, Scott McTominay, Billy Gilmore any harm. Liam Henderson, all these players are out in Italy. You've got Ollie Burke, who's been in Germany for years now. So, I mean, Ollie Burke's not been played for Scotland for a while, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, it's definitely good to see all these Scottish players going and playing in different leagues. Definitely.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll move on to what is going to be a new segment or a new section of our podcast, and it's called the monthly top 5. So every month, the beginning, the first episode of every month, we're going to do a monthly top 5 on a different subject. Now, because it was Jack's first episode, I let him decide what category we were going to do, and he has chosen worst games attended. So I don't know if that makes you a glass half full or glass half empty type of guy, Jack.
I think you can tell, probably.
You can kick things off, though. What we'll do is we'll go from 5 to 1.
Yeah.
I have my games here. Now, if you just want to name them, name the score and whatever, then that's what you can do. A wee bit of detail if you can on each game. So what have you got in 5th place?
So in 5th place, I've got United 2, Maipa 2. We played them in 2005, I think it was. And I was in the shed, and we were 2-0 up, cruising, and then I think the boy's name, Adriano, sunk our ship, and the mood was very bitter at the end of that game. I think he chipped us in the 89th minute, chipped the goal in the 89th minute to put them through on away goals. So that was quite a rubbish game to see. What about you?
In fifth, I've actually went with a game that I don't think a lot of people would even think of. It's always kind of stuck out for me. 2010 Scottish Cup Scottish quarter final. Dundee lost 2-1 at home to Raith Rovers. That season, the beginning of that season in 2009, the summer of 2009, because that was our 5th season in a row in the First Division at the time, and we were all full of optimism. That crook for Aberdeen, Melville, came in and he was splashing the cash. We were signing boys like Lee Griffiths, Gary Harkins, etc. And because we'd obviously been down in the doldrums for a few seasons, it was really exciting. We thought this is going to be our year. We started off the season fairly well. We won the Challenge Cup in November. Through Christmas, we were top of the league. We were doing really well. And then maybe January onwards, the season kind of unravelled, really. Ended up in Jockey Scott. Probably not long after that Raith Rovers game, actually, Jockey Scott ended up getting sacked. Gordon Chisholm came in. But I always remember that Scottish Cup quarter final at home to Raith was disappointing, and I always felt, because it was obviously we were a game away from Hampden, we were at home to a team in our league as a First Division team. We couldn't have picked a better chance of getting to Hampden, and we just blew it, really. We're 2-0 down within 15-20 minutes, and I just remember it being a bit of a siege on Raith Rovers' goal for the rest of the game. We got 1 goal back and just couldn't get the equaliser to force a replay. After seeing all of that, Raith Rovers ended up getting United at Hampden, and to be honest with you, I could have done without that. So it's probably not the biggest of disappointments, but at the time it felt like that. So that's what I've got in 5th. So number 4, what have you got?
So this one's it was purely for boredom. It was St Johnstone 0, Dundee United 0. It was my first ever away game, like in terms of not a neutral venue, but another team stadium, and it was the most boring game of football I've ever watched.
When do you reckon that was?
It was 2012. I looked it up. It was 2012, and there was one shot on target the whole game, and it came in the 81st minute. It was dreadful. So that is my 4th pick.
Okay. My 4th pick was a game from 2019. It was at home to Celtic. Now, the 2018-19 season was the worst season I've ever had in football. Now, if you were to count friendlies, league games and cup games, right, I seen Dundee win I'm tempted to say 3 games of football in a season. I seen them beat Cowdenbeath in a friendly, who I think ended up finishing bottom of League 2, and they beat them 1-0. I seen them beat Hamilton at Dens in a league game and Livingston away in a league game, and I can't think of another game I've seen them win that season. Now, they got relegated, obviously, but they played Celtic in about I think it was actually on St Patrick's Day, March the 17th or whenever that is, and they played Celtic, and you were thinking Celtic were obviously running away with the league. We were not miles behind, because St Mirren were having an equally as bad season as us, but they were adrift at the bottom of the league along with St Mirren, and you just thought, it's going to be a bit of a tank in the day, isn't it? I think Celtic had already beat us 5-0 at the end of that season, and we took them on through the game. You're getting later and later and later, it's still 0-0. You're thinking, you might nick this, get a 0-0 draw, brilliant. 6 minutes added time get added, and in about the 36th minute of added time, Odsonne Edouard scores to make it 1-0. And the only memory after that I've got is looking over and Neil Lennon was running up the touchline Jose Mourinho style, and yeah, that was heartbreaking to say the least. So yeah, that's my number 4 pick. So moving on to number 3, what's yours?
My number 3 is Falkirk 6, United 1. I don't remember what year it was precisely. I think we were in the Championship, and maybe our first season back in the Championship. And I remember signing Brandon Mason from Watford. I was a fullback. He'd made a couple of appearances for the Watford first team, so we were, this is going to be a great signing. He comes into the first team. He gets scalped about 5 times on that wing, and I'm sure Lee Miller scored a hat-trick against us. I could be wrong, but it was horrendous, mate. It was 6-1, and I've never been back to Falkirk Stadium since. I didn't want to go back again.
Well, moving on to my 3rd pick now. This is where it starts getting pretty exciting for you, to imagine. So my 3rd pick is 2015, New Year's Day, Dundee United 6, Dundee 2. Terrible for multiple reasons. I could remember every single goal like it was yesterday. We're in the shed. The first goal hit off about 4 players' arses and went in. Then Dundee scored a great free kick. Greg Stewart scored it, probably the best goal of the game in all honesty. Scored the free kick with his left foot to get the equaliser. The second goal, now everybody always goes on about this boy Schenk, right? The second goal was his fault. Gary Mackay-Steven crossed it for the Sandeman Street end, and over the keeper and in. The third goal, I say I could remember every goal like it was yesterday. Tell Porties. Was the third goal no Erskine? He got the ball edge of the box.
Yeah, I think so.
About 4 Dundee players sat down and let him take his shot. And the fourth goal was Mackay-Steven again. Willie Dyer was having a hot dog and just standing, no paying attention. The ball got slipped through for him. The 5th goal was a header for a corner, and the 6th goal was the Telfer one. And you could look back on all the goals were really avoidable, and it was just like everything United hit went in. It was just the end of the days. Yeah. And unbelievably, because people who know me well, about people who I go to football with and mates who like football, that were speaking about football a lot, know that I'm a person who likes to leave early. And amazingly, I stayed for that entire game. So, yeah, I don't know why. I was obviously just wanting some punishment, and I was too hungover on New Year's Day to move. But yeah, that's my number 3. So moving on to number 2 for yourself.
I'm interested to know what your top 2 are. Right, so my number 2 was Queen of the South 4, United 0. It just was a miserable day all round, to be honest with you. it was my girlfriend's first away game. She was cranky the whole day. I had her on my back the whole day. We get to the game, we get pumped, it's pissing the rain, so, I mean, it was just a terrible day all round. And we came back up the road, regretting every second of it, and my missus, I don't think she's wanted to ever go back to a United game again.
Yeah, well, I hope that she's not listening after you saying that she's cranky.
Oh, she was, mate.
Oh.
It was that time of the year, and that time of the month.
Oh dear, well, that's the first time, last time that sort of stuff's going to get mentioned on this podcast. The number 2 for me is another United game, and it was actually from the same season. It was 2014, around about September time, and it was at Tannadice, a League Cup game. United won with a 99th minute header from a corner, big Polish centre half.
Oh, class, man.
That was a tough one to take. Now, if memory serves me rightly, we'd played United on the Sunday at Dens and got a bit of a doing, and then we played them again on the Wednesday at Tannadice, this time in the League Cup, and we started off like really, really well. Dundee come out firing, got a penalty, missed the penalty, and then Martin Boyle got sent off. And after that, it was a bit of a backs against the wall, and it was another one of the ones like what I mentioned, the Celtic one earlier, where you don't think when the red card comes, or the beginning of the game in the Celtic one, you think you're going to get a doing. When the red card comes, you think, well, now it's only a matter of time before they score, and probably go on to score more than once. But as the game progresses and United seem to get more and more frustrated, you're thinking, you might be able to take this extra time, and if it gets the extra time, you never know, like, get the penalties, and then it's anyone's game. And then up steps the big Polish boy, and boom.
Yeah, it's a great memory for me, I'm not going to lie. I
think the worst thing about that one is that we hadn't beaten United for so long, and it just seemed like whatever we did, we just couldn't have beat United. But ended up getting our revenge later that season, but yeah, that one wasn't a particularly good memory. Anyway, number 1 for you, what have you went with?
So I think this probably comes as no surprise, but it was AZ Alkmaar 7, United 0. It was there, unfortunately. The build up to the game was good. We're obviously quite confident, quietly confident, I would say, because we picked up the win at home, and then it's the hope that kills you. And within, I don't even know, 20 minutes, we're 3-0 down, and the game's over at that point. And tried to leave the game early, they wouldn't let us, and you just kept hearing AZ Alkmaar fans celebrating every time they scored. So that was brutal, because it was hot, there was no water anywhere, and they wouldn't let us out. And obviously the performance on the pitch wasn't very good either. So I think that's probably the worst game I've been to.
Why would they not let you out?
It was a safety thing, because they were scared we'd get jumped when we left.
Alright, okay.
Yeah.
Strange. That must be a European thing.
Yeah, you wouldn't know about that.
Oh, my first one. Actually, you are linked in the story. Now, you might not remember it when I first started telling the story, but I think after a while you might. Now, it was a Friday night game live on BT Sport at the time, from 2017, and the game finished Dundee 0, Aberdeen 7. Now, the reason that you're linked to this game is because yourself and myself, and potentially others, I can't remember, were planning a night out that night. And I think I had phoned you and said, I'll pick you up after I've been to Dens, and I'll bring you back to mine, and we'll have a few drinks in mine, and then we'll go in the town, and we'll have one night out. And that was the plan. So, into Dens I go. After 25 minutes, they're 3-0 down, and I left. So I'm walking up Isla Street, past where the shack is and where the old gym was, and the fourth goal goes in. You heard the Aberdeen fans celebrating the fourth goal. So I think I got to my car and I phoned you, and you were obviously no place near Riddy, because there were 25 minutes into the match and we're 4-0 down. So I ended up going to Morrison's, and when I went to Morrison's, a car crashed into a lorry in front of me.
Oh, Jesus.
So all this happened, and Dundee got beat 7-0. So I can't even sit here and say that I seen the whole match, because I didn't. I seen 3 goals out of the 7. And the worst thing about it was that mucking dumpling Andy Considine scored a hat trick.
Oh, Jesus.
So not only are Aberdeen, Celtic and Rangers shouldn't be coming to your place as an SPL team and winning 7-0, but Aberdeen certainly shouldn't, no matter how bad you are. That's bad enough, but when Andy bloody Considine scores a hat-trick against you, you know it's time to give up. Andy Considine scored umpteen goals against Dundee, to be fair, through his career, but a hat-trick's just unforgivable, and yeah, that's my number one. But anyway, next month we'll have something else. So the first one in September we'll have a new subject to go off of. So that's our monthly top 5. So my top 5: number 5, 2010 versus Wraith Rovers, 2019 versus Celtic, 2015 versus United, 2014 versus United, and 2017 versus Aberdeen. Jack's top 5, from 5 to 1: 2005 versus Maipa, 2012 versus St Johnstone, 2018 versus Falkirk, 2019 versus Queen of the South, and 2022 against AZ Alkmaar. Now, before we finish off today's episode, we've got the first instalment of the Futbology Challenge. Now, unfortunately, Jack didn't actually have a game today, so on the opening day of the challenge, he's actually had a forfeit. When I read out the rules a couple of episodes ago, we've slightly amended them, so if you don't have a game on the day of the recording, which Jack didn't, you get a 1-0 defeat. I thought it would have made the league table look, which I'll put on screen now if you're listening on YouTube, it would have made the league table look stupid in my opinion, because the previous rule was if you don't have a game, you just didn't have a game, and that was it. Like, it didn't affect anything. But we could end up at the end of the season where Martin's had 17 games, I've had 25, and you've had 10. That would just look stupid. So if you've got recording day morning where you've not got a game, you just get a 1-0 loss. I thought that was fair. I didn't want to give you a 3-0 loss and it mucks up your goal difference. So the results from this week's games are on screen now. Jack had a 1-0 forfeit loss. My game was Ross County against Dundee at Dens, and from 2017 it was a opening league game of the season, which Dundee lost 2-1. Now, very unsurprising given that Dundee never ever win an opening game of the season, but the score was 2-1. Goals for Ross County from Jamie Lindsay and Christopher Rutis. Jack Hendry scoring for Dundee. The teams that day for Dundee was Scott Bain, Kevin Holt, Cammy Kerr, Dan O'Dea, Kerr Waddle, Scott Allen, Rory Deacon, Glenn Kamara, Mark O'Hara, Sofian Musa and Randy Walters. On the bench was Elliot Parrish, Jack Hendry, Paul McGowan, Lewis Spence, James Vincent, Faisal El Baktui and Danny Williams. Ross County, their starting 11: Scott Fox, Andrew Davies, Jason Naismith, Sean Kelly, Marcus Fraser, Tim Chow, Jamie Lindsay, Michael Gardine, Christopher Rutis, Alex Schalk and Ryan Dow. And their bench was Aaron McCary, Reagan Tumulty, Kenny van der Weg, Russell Dingwall, Davis Keeler-Dunn, Blair Malcolm and Thomas Mickelson. So 2-1 defeat for Dundee that day, so I start the season on the Futbology Challenge with a 2-1 loss. As for Martin, he tops the table. His game was from 2012, August the 5th, 2012, and it was a 3-0 victory for United over Hibs. I'll read out the details, Jack, and see if you could remember it. Goals for United that day were from Johnny Russell, John Daly and Michael Gardine. The starting 11 for United was Chesniak, Sean Dillon, Barry Douglas, Gavin Gunnan, Keith Watson, Will Flood, Gary Mackay-Steven, John Rankin, Richie Ryan, John Daly and Johnny Russell. And on their bench, Steve Banks, Brian McLean, Michael Gardine, Stuart Armstrong, Mark Miller, Willie Robertson and Ryan Dow. As for Hibs, their starting lineup was Ben Williams, Tim Clancy, Paul Hanlon, James McPake, Lee Griffiths, Owen Doyle, Paul Kearney, David Witherspoon, Lewis Stevenson, Ivan Sproul and David Stevens, and their bench Callum Intel, Callum Booth, Sean O'Hanlon, George Claros, Pa Kajabi, Daniel Handling and Ross Caldwell. So anything from that game that you remember at all?
To be honest, no.
No?
I've not got the best memory, so there's multiple games I've been to. I know I've been to, but I don't know who it's been against or when it was. So I've obviously not put them in my Futbology app. And that's another one that I might have been at. I don't particularly remember. So no, I can't say I remember anything from that game.
Okay. Well, I got them details for the two scores and the team lineups and whatnot from the D Archive and the Arab Archive. They're both great websites, very similar in build, and if you're a Dundee or a Dundee United supporter who's never heard them, which I can't believe there'd be any Dundee United fan who hasn't, then go check them out, because they're both great platforms. They're probably run by boys who didn't get a penny for running them, but they're just passionate about their clubs and preserving the history. So definitely go and check them out. And Jack, if you want to go and check that game out, if you hit the report tab, you'll get the highlights.
Perfect.
So that is brought to the end of episode 6. Jack, how did you get on? Are you going to be back next week?
Yeah, I'll be back next week.
Perfect. But thanks very much for doing that, Jack. I really appreciate that. Thanks you very much
for having me.
For listening. Yeah, no problem. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week for episode 7, where hopefully Dundee and United have provided shock wins, which won't happen, which will be a shock. But anyway, enjoy the rest of your week and have a great weekend. Thanks very much.
Thank you.